Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the GSL-English Podcast. My name is, of course, Gideon, and in this week's episode, it was my absolute pleasure to have a conversation with Paul Gruber. Now, I've wanted to have a chat with Paul for quite some time now, and he very kindly agreed to join me as a guest on the podcast. Now, many of you will be familiar with Paul. He is a speech language pathologist and an accent and pronunciation expert. So you'll most likely know him from his social media presence and his fantastic content on YouTube. You may have taken one of his brilliant courses, but also he is acclaimed around the world for being an expert in this field. And it was really inspiring for me to have a conversation with him. And I know you will enjoy it as well, because we break down Paul's approach to how he presents phonetics and pronunciation, but also we talk about his story, about how he got into this. And it is really inspiring. It is really motivational. And as we go through, you'll probably end up just like I was, in the fact that I just felt determined to work a little bit harder. You know, he really highlights what hard work can do for us. There is so much you'll take from this conversation. So if you can, grab a cup of tea, sit back, or if you're listening on Spotify, take some time just to rest and relax, or just listen on the go, whatever you're doing. But yeah, enjoy this conversation. All the links to everything that Paul mentions throughout the episode are in the description below. But as a note, thank you so much to Paul for joining me, for taking the time to join this little English podcast that I have. I really do appreciate it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Paul. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. I know it's taken a while for us to finally get together, but we're here. We're finally here.
We're here. And Gideon, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. And I've been admiring you for a while and your YouTube channel. You're doing amazing work. And I'm very excited to be here. So thank you again.
Oh, you are too kind. But
it's
honestly,
amazing we're able to do this on two continents across the pond. This is amazing.
Yeah, technology, what it's allowed us to do now. But you know what they say, good things come to those that wait. So finally, I've wanted to, as you know, have you on the podcast for ages, and I'm really looking forward to kind of diving in to your experience. But yeah, so just before we get into that, I always like to ask, where are you currently in the world? Because as you were saying, recording from different continents. Where are you?
So I'm in the United States.
Okay.
I have been in. I'm an American, born in the United States, and I've been in the Chicago area for about 25, 30 years. But a few years ago, we moved south to Tennessee. Right. So I'm right in the middle. I'm right in the middle of the country in Tennessee in the United States. I live right by a lake with a boat. It's beautiful here. It's really, really nice. And, but I have clients, my business is online. So we have clients, all over the world, every country you can imagine. I have many clients actually in London and throughout the UK and Australia and throughout the whole world.
Oh, wow.
But here I am in Tennessee. It's amazing that, you can have a business and help people and reach people all over the world. So yeah,
it's incredible. Well, what technology allows us to do, particularly kind of in the areas of work that we work in, what it allows us to do is incredible. It really, I think sometimes because we're used to it, we take it for granted a little bit. But actually, even like, as you say, what we're doing now, this is fantastic.
Well, I go back, I started this business and helping people with their English and their pronunciation back in 1994.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's 30. So this May was 30 years that I've been doing this. And then back in the year like 2000, 1999, 2000, the internet was exploding and they just started having videos. They just started having videos online. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said to myself back then, this was like 1999. I said, well, no. I'm giving you the wrong. 2000. Yeah, I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
1999. I guess I said, if I can get my training online
Mm.
back then, and they didn't have Skype, they didn't have Zoom, they didn't have, but if I can get this online somehow, this could go global. But I
Yeah.
never realized it could do what it did, so I got
Yeah.
in very early.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to actually a little bit later on breaking down how you did that. Because of course you got your fantastic course and your workshop, which I'm looking forward to really dissecting that. But just quickly, I've got some friends actually that are from Chicago, and they're always saying to me, Gideon, you've got to go to Chicago. It's incredible. It's amazing. It, I know you're going to maybe perhaps be a bit biased, but is that true? Is it worth a visit?
Chicago is a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful city. It's located right on Lake Michigan.
Right.
Um, so you have the city and you have the beach. You can go
Yeah.
to the beach. You have Lakeshore Drive. You have amazing stores, amazing restaurants. Um, New York is, and I'm from New York originally. New York is
Oh,
massive and
okay.
exciting. Chicago is a smaller version of New York.
Hmm.
So it's easier to manage. It's easier to get around. It's not as crazy. People are very, very nice in the Midwest.
Right.
And yeah, Chicago is great. And my favorite thing is Garrett's popcorn. I don't know if you ever heard
Garrett's
of it.
Garrett's
Garrett's
popcorn.
popcorn, Garrett
I've never
apostrophe
heard of it.
S.
I've
Okay, you
never
can go to
heard of
their
it.
website. You can go. I don't. I am not getting a referral or anything from them. But you can go
Yeah,
to you can
click this link.
no, but you can go to their website, and they are very famous for making. It's called the Chicago mix. It's half caramel and
Oh,
half cheese popcorn. People line up for like an hour and a half down Michigan
oh
Avenue
wow.
to eat this popcorn. It's like the best thing. That's the best thing about Chicago. So if
Yeah.
you ever go to
Oh,
Chicago,
okay.
don't miss Garrett's popcorn. They have stores all over the city, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know,
So
I've realized that England is behind when it comes to popcorn. I realized this recently that we are just stuck with either salt or sweet popcorn. And if we're getting a bit fancy, we have it mixed. But I've realized that's about it. But in the popcorn sphere,
uh
we are so
it's
behind.
it's one of the best things I've ever eaten. That's how good.
I
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah,
like it.
but I think of Chicago, I think of Garrett's, but it's a great city. The
Mm.
Millennium Park and the
Oh, I've heard of it.
waterfront,
Mm.
and the museums. So it's a great
Yeah.
city.
And oh, forgive my ignorance, but is Tennessee a very different place to live?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm near Nashville. I'm near Nashville. I'm
Oh,
not in the
okay.
city, but I'm near Nashville. Nashville is, the headquarters, music city of country music.
I love country
Um,
music.
so I'm in that area, but
Yeah.
it's not a lot of people from all over, a lot of people
Yeah.
from all over the world are living here. And people are very nice. People are very nice, welcoming.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a very nice part of the country and beautiful. We have like the Smoky Mountains,
Oh,
Smoky
wow.
Mountain National Park, the mountains and the rivers and the lakes.
Mm.
It's gorgeous here in Tennessee. It's beautiful.
That's always one thing with America, just that just
And no
amazes
tax,
me.
no state tax. So if you're from the United States, you have to pay the federal tax,
Yeah.
but you also have to pay the state tax. But certain states have no tax, and Tennessee happens to be one of those states. There's no state tax in Tennessee, so
That's a
that's another selling
bonus.
feature. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, what a great reason to move to Tennessee.
another
And it always
reason.
amazes me that the diversity of landscapes. Like my wife and I, we've recently just visited America a little bit, but the diversity of just the landscapes and
Mhm.
the beauty really that you can see in such different ways is incredible.
Yes, it is. It's so different. Like Florida, which is
Yeah.
very flat compared to where I'm living, the mountains. It's and Colorado,
Mm.
and Hawaii and California. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot here, but
Yeah.
it's around the world. I mean, the world's an amazing place. It's not
Oh, it
just
is.
there's Bali and there's Thailand and there's Australia. There's the whole world's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing.
And I know that, of course, which we will go into this. I always end up jumping the gun a little bit, and then my conversations are all over the place. But I know you've managed with your work and your business. You've been able to travel quite a bit, haven't you, and see a few different places.
Yes, I've been invited
Yeah.
all over. I've spoken in front of thousands and thousands of people in China. The last time I was in Vietnam, this is crazy. The last time I was in Vietnam, I had 5 bodyguards. I was
Oh,
getting,
wow.
I was
Well,
getting,
you were
they
a big
brought me,
deal in Vietnam.
yeah, because you know I believe the government of Vietnam is very big on English. They want their people to speak English
Right.
and clear English. So I became very famous in Vietnam. I didn't really even realize it. So I was
Wow.
invited. We were going to an event. I was going to speak in, big stadium with a lot of
Yeah.
people. And I'm getting out of the limousine and I'm like, one, two, three, four, five
For me?
bodyguards, like a rock star. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I've seen the world,
Yeah.
Dubai. I've
Wow.
had amazing trips and
Yeah.
done trainings all over in companies, corporations, and
Oh, wow.
universities and things like that.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of lends us kind of nicely into it. And I know most viewers and listeners will be very familiar with you from different for different reasons, and of course from Instagram and social media and different things like that, but also from your courses. But perhaps before we kind of get into your story, which I know is quite an interesting one, could you perhaps just let us know what it is that you specialize in particularly?
Sure. I'm just moving my screen. Give me 1 second here.
Oh, I
There we
end
go.
up I end up doing that all the way through the podcast. Honestly, my notes just fly around my screen. If you
Yeah,
can watch it in the time lapse,
this way it
yeah,
looks like I'm looking at you a little bit better.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
I've got to remember what it was. Yeah. So if you could just, you'll realize I have a memory like a fish. So once the questions come out, that's it. It's not coming back. No,
Okay, okay.
I've got this one written down, so I'll remember it. Yeah, perhaps you could just let us know what it is that you specialize in particularly.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a speech language pathologist.
Okay.
I have a crazy history. I went to college, got my bachelor's degree, worked in New York for years
Mhm.
in the business world. I
Oh
ended up
wow,
having, I'll give you a little bit probably more information than what you're looking for. I
that's
ended
fine.
up having, it's crazy, but I got engaged to my
Mhm.
beautiful wife, Diane, and a week after I became engaged, I had a spinal cord injury and I
Oh
was
my.
paralyzed from the waist down, and I was in a rehab hospital for months. They never thought I'd walk again. I was in the same rehab hospital as Christopher Reeve. Remember
Oh yeah,
Superman?
yeah.
Kessler
My goodness.
Institute in New Jersey. Yeah. So it was a terrible time, terrible time. Here we just got engaged. People are congratulating us and then sending me get well cards at the same time. I ended up having a very good recovery and I'm
Mhm.
able to walk and my legs are fine now, but it was a very rough road. But it was during that time that I reevaluated my life. I was in business. I was now involved working with physical therapists and occupational therapists in the
Wow.
hospital. And I said, I want to help people. So I went, to make a long story short, I went back to school for my master's degree in speech language pathology,
Wow.
and I became a speech language pathologist. And I started working in hospitals with cancer patients and people who've had strokes or had,
Oh,
difficulty
okay.
speaking. They can't move their mouth, or children. I worked with birth to three, or it's called early in the United States. It's called early intervention, where we
Right.
help children birth to three. Did
Mm.
that for many, many years. And I worked in schools, our articulation of speech.
Wow.
And what I loved was the articulation part, the
Mm.
pronunciation. And then I could take this and I could help people with their pronunciation.
Mm.
So I started, this was back in 1994. I was living in Evanston. I was living near Northwestern University.
Mm.
And I got every book you can get on accents
Mm.
and pronunciation and English training. I read everything I could. I did as much as I could. And then I started putting ads like at Northwestern University, and I started getting some of their students, their graduate students, and people. I had an office, and people came into the office, and I started helping them with the pronunciation. And I didn't really know what I was doing. There was phonetics. I was following phonetic, but I started doing my own thing because I felt I knew better than what was out there. You always saw those diagrams of the face
Yeah.
with the tongue going up and the teeth, and it was very difficult. And understanding phonetics, I found it very tricky and difficult for
Mm.
most people. So I started coming up with my own system. This was back 30 years ago. And it worked really well. And my first client was a client from Spain. He was a graduate student and he had a very heavy accent. These people some speak very good English. Their grammar is good, vocabulary, fluency is good, but an English listener like us may still have a difficult time understanding them.
Yeah.
Or some people learn English, they work so hard learning English, but they want to speak as if they were a native, without an
Yeah.
accent. And they
Yeah.
don't want to be asked, where are you from? Where are you from?
Mm.
So people can come, with different motivations. But I started seeing that people were like improving like crazy, not mostly pronunciation and accent, but also grammar, fluency, vocabulary, idioms, expressions, things like that. And it grew. And I had this office with people from China and Vietnam and Australia and the UK and Japan and uh, Mexico and South America, all over. My clients were all over. And it was at that point that I started saying, let me put a video course together,
Right.
which took about 6 years
Oh,
from,
wow.
yeah, from, you know what it was? I think I gave you the wrong dates before. I think it was 1995 to 2001, something
Mm.
like that. It
Right.
took me 6 years to put this. I worked during the day. I had a job, full-time job during the day. And in the middle of the night, at like 2 or 3,
Mm.
hi, it's Paul Gruber. Welcome back to the pronunciation
And
workshop video course
that's not easy to do.
with
That,
a green screen, with a green screen
wow.
behind me.
Wow.
And that's how I made these videos. And now we estimate about 55 million people have seen these videos all over the world.
Really?
It's yeah. So that's what I do. I
Wow.
mean, I have a video course,
Mm.
which I'm very, very proud of. It's a new one. It's called the Miracle Pronunciation Academy.
Mm.
That's my new video course. But we also provide live training. We do it over Zoom and Skype. We do live coaching face to face. And so the focus is on pronunciation, but we help people with grammar,
Mm.
verbs, vocabulary, everything to teach people how to speak English as if it were their first language. Now,
Mm.
the thing is, you're in England and
Mhm.
you're English professional.
Mm.
I'm in America. So we do have many clients, in the UK and all over who are, they ask, do you teach British English, American?
Mm.
Of course, I'm American. So my whole approach is sounding like you're from the United States or Canada. It's North American English. Um, if you're looking for British English, that's you.
I'm your man. No, there's a lot better than me out there, but yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
it is. I like what you said there because it is important, I think, to have a focus. Because it makes it easier to as you go along the road of pronunciation and phonetics, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just working with a client just the other day from Brazil who's telling we're talking about the Olympics. We're talking about Celine Dion singing
Mm.
at the Olympics, and she was just amazing. And he's telling me about he loves music. He loves listening to duets, something like that. Duets. I said, can you spell that? We have the chat
Yeah.
window going as I'm coaching them, as I'm do it. He said, yeah, do it. He duet,
Oh, duet.
DUET.
Yeah.
He's telling me. So it's like things that you would never catch, like things that
Mm.
you would never, that, when you as the way we write English, spell English is not the way we pronounce it on so many
Exactly.
words.
Mm.
And so my clients make these pronunciation errors. They have accents, they have pronunciation errors, and they want to speak confidently. That's the big thing. They're
Yeah.
at meetings, business meetings, they want to raise their hand, and they're very often afraid or timid to speak because they don't have the confidence in speaking English,
Exactly.
and they don't want to be judged like they're not smart. So
Mm.
that's exactly what we do. We give people a lot of confidence, and I can tell you the results are amazing. Many of my
Mm.
clients start with heavy accents, poor pronunciation, poor English, and they truly get to a point where you would swear that English was their first language. So people do
Yeah.
really, really well. And I never realized when I was in my 20s, I never thought I'd be in this business. I mean, it's
Mm.
crazy how this happened. So for all the young people who are listening, well, what am I going to do with my life?
Mm.
Just, put one foot in front of the next and follow your dreams and follow your instincts. But,
Mm.
when I was younger, I never had any idea that I would be doing this, let alone world famous now
Mm.
in this space. It's really amazing.
And I guess what I kind of take away from that is, of course, it takes determination as well, particularly for you. This is, I mean, even I guess going from that point with the accident, paralyzed waist down, you had to have that inner determination for yourself, to think, well, no, I'm not going to let this happen, kind of thing, and that determination to keep pushing.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Life is tough
it
for
is.
everybody. You can't
Mm,
get, it's tough. It's tough. It's ups and downs. But when I started working early on, working with people on improving their English and their pronunciation, I loved it. I
mm,
mean, I was working in hospitals and I was working, it was a helping profession. I was doing wonderful work, but it
mm,
still was work. I had to go to work, you know what I mean? But when I
mm,
started on this niche, I just loved it. I loved it. And so if you feel you have a passion for something, and I love helping people, it's all
mm,
about helping people. So it made it easy. It made it easy, and making all these videos because it's grueling. It's
mm,
grueling, all through COVID. In this, my new course, the Miracle Pronunciation Academy,
mm,
I'm still building on it. I've made so far, I think, 172 videos.
mm.
And a big chunk of those videos was all filmed during COVID. That no one
Wow.
was leaving their house. And
Yeah.
hi, welcome back. It's Unit 46. And today
Yeah.
we're gonna, so it's
Yeah.
grueling, but
How do you
uh,
stay motivated? Particularly, I've always wondered this because I've not developed a course myself. But as most people, you come back and forth. I should do a course, and then you don't do it. But I think it's particularly for you. You're saying that this course is years and years in the making. But of course, whilst you're making it, whilst you're producing, you're not seeing anything in
right.
return. And I've
That's right.
often wondered, how
Nothing,
do you keep the
like
motivation?
crickets. Crickets. It's like nothing, nothing. And you don't know. Like even my original program that I told you I filmed in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
it took 6 years. Took 6 years to put that together.
Wow.
Um, I didn't know if anyone was going to buy it, or if it was going to sell, or if anyone was interested in this, or they only wanted to work with me live.
Mm.
You have no idea. It's called delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
hoping that it's going to work, and stay
Mm,
positive. And that's what I did. And the focus is on the person on the other side of the computer.
mm.
I want to help them. I want to help them. So that's what kept me going. If you're asking me what keeps you going, it's and at this point I'm building a legacy, because these videos are going to last forever.
Yeah.
And I want to leave something that's powerful, that will really, really help
Yeah.
people.
And I think that's really encouraging, even the principle to take away from that, because I think particularly even for myself and for learners of English, it's hard work, particularly learning a second language. And I think
Oh,
anything worth having in life, you've got to be willing to work at it. Some days are good, some days are bad. But I think particularly, let's take the focus of pronunciation. It's not something that you can do half-heartedly. You got to commit to it, and just keep going. Just keep working hard, and
and
eventually,
it is tough. English is not an
yeah,
easy language to learn.
there's a
And
lot.
I admire, so many people, they come to the and they feel so bad because of the way they speak English.
Mm,
Meanwhile, they may speak two languages or three languages, sometimes four or five languages. I go, look at you. Look at your
exactly.
where we are having a conversation in English. I'm able to communicate with you, and yet you speak all these other languages, or
Mm,
just one language. I said, you should be so proud of yourself. Um,
exactly.
it's remarkable to learn a second language. I admire all these people
Mm,
that are working so hard to, a lot of people want to master English throughout the whole world.
yeah. And
It's not easy.
I always say that to a lot of my students, because they're often in the first class. They say, oh, "I'm sorry for my English," or they make them say, "I'm sorry," and I don't allow that word, because
Yeah.
I already think, well, wait, you're already a step above me because you're able to have a conversation in another language. So if anything,
Mhm.
I should be apologizing. What you're doing is
That's how
incredible.
I feel.
Trying to
That's how I feel.
reprogram your brain to communicate in another language is an immense task to undertake. And I often, and you must see that, even of course, because you do the course and live coaching, that I always respect and encouraged by the determination of students to be better, to improve, to not settle.
It's true. It's true. And and I admire my clients tremendously. They work
Yeah.
very, very hard, and they're busy. They're doctors and lawyers and students and
Yeah.
housewives, and and they're raising children, and yet they find time to
Mm,
master and perfect their English. It's really remarkable. I really admire, and I have the nicest clients, especially
yeah.
the ones I meet live
Mm.
on the internet. The nicest people. We have such a great time. I've developed such relationships. Many of my clients
Mm.
I've seen in person. We get together, they invite me to different places around the world, and it's weird, even though like we're on Zoom or Skype, you develop over
You
time, you
do.
develop these real relationships, and it's been wonderful.
And there's a loyalty that develops as well, isn't there? You get loyal to these ones. And if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of dive into the pronunciation side of it a little bit, because you touched on something which I thought was quite interesting, that developed your own system, because the others perhaps sometimes weren't working. And I know for many, there's so many resources out there now, isn't there, with pronunciation on how to do it, what's correct, this is the way you should learn, and it can be quite intimidating, I think, for ones that want to improve. So kind of what's your approach to it?
Okay, so let me tell you this. First of all, I'm a very humble man. I'm very humble. I'm not good at tennis. I can't play golf. I'm not good. But
Yeah,
when it comes
we'd
to
get on well.
pronunciation, when it comes to this,
Yeah.
I'm amazing. I've
Oh, I
developed
love
those.
that. I
It's
like that.
true. I
I
have
like that.
such an amazing,
I like
great
that.
program.
Mm.
And let me go back another step. You probably know, you're in England. You probably know Barry Manilow. Do you
Oh
know
yeah.
Barry Manilow?
Yeah, yeah.
I am the biggest Barry
Oh
Manilow
really?
fan in the world. Yeah. I
Okay.
was my wife and I were married on his birthday, June 17th. I met him when I was about 16 years old. It was like one of the highlights of my life. And I play the piano,
Oh, do you?
and I have a music background. Yeah, one of my bachelor's majors was piano. And I used to perform in New York. I play the piano, I sing, and I'm not so bad. I'm really not
I
so
like
bad.
that.
And I've always loved Barry Manilow, and I wanted to be Barry Manilow. That was the
Yeah.
goal, in my 20s. It didn't work out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I use a lot of that music background and
That's interesting.
everything I know
Mm.
musically, and I brought that into my pronunciation training. So it's a very musical approach. That's the first thing you
Brilliant.
need to understand.
Yeah.
There's no phonetics. I don't use phonetics. I created It's crazy. Phonetics is complicated.
Mm.
There's markings and, you need to learn phonetics. And then if you look in the dictionary and read words phonetically, very often that's not exactly how a
Mm.
native speaker would pronounce the word.
Yeah.
So I
It's
came up with my,
intimidating. Phonetic, it's
yes,
intimidating. Yeah.
and it's difficult. It's difficult.
Mm.
So I came up with my own system. I stripped away all the complexities of phonetics, came up with
Mhm.
my own system, and I call it naked pronunciation.
Love it.
And it's in my books. It's
Yeah.
I talk about it in my books, and I use it on all my Instagram and my TikTok and my videos. So I have a system with all the vowels, like e a ah oo o wait, e a ah ooh or ooh. Ooh, ooh, oh. That's right. The front vowels, the back vowels, all the sounds. So I have a whole system on how to pronounce American English, North American English. I'm trying to remember your question. How so and
Your
and
approach.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, my approach. And so I teach, in Instagram and TikTok, you see,
Yeah.
say this word. Let's say the word is communication, 5-syllable word,
Mm.
communicate. The fourth syllable gets stressed. So I have a system where I stress the fourth syllable, showing that's where the stress is. And there's hidden Y's, like in the word view, and
You. Yeah.
inquire. There's hidden W's. Studying, there's a hidden Y. Instead of studying, not studying, I'm studying,
Mhm.
carrying. So there's hidden sounds, and there's um, word connections, like do it, for example. I'm going to do it. Two different vowel sounds are coming together, like the ooh and do, and the it and it. So we throw in a hidden W. I'm going to
Mm.
do it.
Yeah.
But an international speaker learning English does not necessarily pick up on all those hidden sounds and
Yeah.
all those very small subtleties of English. So that's my approach. Now, my course, I've become famous on Instagram, and it's gotten, there were days I was picking up 25,000 new followers a day
Wow.
at some point on Instagram. So Instagram, TikTok, they blew up. And I go, say this word, but that's not what my training is about. My training is about globally how to put all the sentences together, how to be fluent, how to pronounce all the words correctly. And there's a
Mm.
lot of patterns also. Like, I'm not trying to sell this book,
No,
but
no, please.
this is one of my books. It's called The Complete Syllable Stress Survival Guide. It's available on Amazon. Um, if you have a choice of taking my Miracle Pronunciation Academy video course or getting this book, take the video course. It's much more powerful. But the reason I wrote this book is that a lot of my clients, their pronunciation may be good, but their syllable stress is wrong, especially on these longer
Mm.
words. When you have words with 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 syllables, and a client would be speaking to me, and I'm like, can you type that? I don't know what word you're saying, just because they're stressing the incorrect syllable. So what we did is we put together this book, and it's separated. Let me show you. It's separated, like, here we go, like four syllable words,
Mm.
stress on the first syllable. Then the next section is stress, you know, stress here, stress on the third syllable.
Mm.
What it is there's patterns. People don't realize this. So you can, for example, four syllable words, stress on the third syllable. Adolescent, advantageous, affidavit, altercation, artificial, beneficial,
Mm.
celebration, comprehensive. So there's patterns of syllable stress. And yeah, so I approach it from many, many different ways. This book also has audio. And when you buy the book on Amazon, you send us a link and you get the audio. There's like 7 audio modules that go with this book where it's me showing you how to pronounce every word. It's very good. However, it's a full approach. It's
Mm.
syllable stress, pronunciation of THs and S's and Z's and rules, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's I tell people, don't think of this as getting like English lessons. Think of this as getting music lessons. It's very musical. It's a lot of fun. It's laughing. It's
Mm. And
silly.
I'm a firm believer, like that's really interesting you said that because um I'm a firm believer because I'm a musician as well.
What do you
But I
play?
think I'm a drummer. I played
Oh, wow.
drums for 15, nearly 20 years now. 20
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Much to my neighbours' dismay. But yeah, I play drums. But I don't know whether it's just because of that musical background, but I think if you can approach the English language, particularly pronunciation, even if that is American, British, whatever you're going for, if you can approach it from a musical angle, a rhythmic angle, I think it helps so much more to build that fluency and that connection. I kind of like I think about drumming, for example. We don't hit notes and cymbals and snares separately. It's all together, and it all runs together. And I think that approach, when you can approach it from a musical angle, a rhythmic angle, with that connection and the flow and the ups and the downs and the change in pitch and pace, it develops your pronunciation so much.
And the other thing is, I don't want my clients to go through life thinking about pronunciation and
Mm.
accent. It should be, you shouldn't have to think about it. So
Yeah.
it has to be automatic. So part of it is practicing a little bit, because you have to retrain the oral motor
Mm.
musculature in your face, the oral motor patterns, to learn these new movements. But the big thing is the ear training. And the big part of my program is showing a student what they're doing compared to what they should be doing. And when
Mm.
they're speaking English during the day, what I'm hoping is they're going to say to themselves, oh, I said that wrong. I should have said it this other way, the way Paul just taught me. And
Yeah.
it's that awareness over and over again that, without thinking about it, there's a transformation in their English. And another thing is I want my clients to speak fluently and like a native speaker. So we work on speed. We work on speed. So in my video course, I give people like say the sentence slowly with perfect and exaggerated pronunciation, but then it's boom, it's fast. And also it's the same thing in the live coaching, because I want their muscles to get used to these patterns. I don't want them to speak like a robot. It has to be fluent and with the right intonation, because there's a melody to English, as you know.
Exactly.
You go up, you come down. And so many of these languages, especially like Chinese and Thai, very monotone, a tonal language, and they don't have the nuances of the melody, the prosody of the language. And we work on all that.
And it's interesting as well. It's just another point, is that muscle memory. I think sometimes, I know I've done this, particularly when I try to learn other languages, I focus purely on sounds and what my mouth is producing or the words I'm saying, but actually building that muscle memory for your mouth and your organs to move in the way they need to for English is essential.
Without thinking about it.
Yeah, it's essential that you can't have one without the other. And I guess the only way we can do that is by talking, by talking, by speaking, by practicing. And I think a really interesting word that you said is also being aware, of your pronunciation.
And catching yourself when you make these errors. I call them errors, but it's not really an error, but it isn't, there's the old way and the new way. So catching yourself and hearing it, and that's going to propel you to speak clearly, correctly, and confidently.
Yeah. And an error, I try and put this across as well. Error is not a failure by any means. I think sometimes people, I've noticed, can beat themselves up. Oh, I've been taking lessons, I've been taking Paul's course, but I just made a mistake, or I made an error. Well, that's not a failure. It's just being aware of that and then improving from that point. And I guess the more you follow that process, the more you will improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly, as long as you're aware of it. If you're clueless and you're not aware of these errors, you're not going to improve. So the whole key is making someone, hitting them over the head so many times that they catch those errors automatically, in conversational English. That's going to get them to improve rather quickly.
Exactly. So the current course, of course, is the miracle pronunciation.
So I have a client from Turkey.
I'm intrigued by the name.
So let me tell you. I have a client. She's still a client from Turkey. She's a very beautiful woman who speaks Turkish. She was Muslim and she converted to become a Christian.
Oh, okay.
And she had a YouTube channel, Facebook channels. She had about 5 million followers. She's big. She's big on the internet. But yet, television shows in Turkey and in, I don't know, some other countries. And she wanted to break into the English language world, but she had a very, very heavy accent. So she found me and I ended up working with her. She a sweet woman. And she improved like amazing. Now she has television shows and she's on Facebook and internet in English. So she does the Turkish and and she also does English, and she's huge, millions and millions of followers. And she's a wonderful woman. But she said she knew I was working on this new program. This is like, COVID, pre-COVID. She knew I was working on this new COVID. And she says, Paul, you know what you should name your course? I said, what? She said, you should name it Miracle Pronunciation, because what you've done for me is a miracle.
Oh, okay.
And I laughed. I thought that was funny. I said, you think so? She goes, people love the word miracle. I said, you think? And she said, they love the word miracle. You should name, I'm telling you, Paul, you should name your program Miracle Pronunciation. So to make a long story short, I did. That's where the name came from.
Oh, well, what a great story. And it's, And it's it's an absolutely brilliant story, and I guess it's come from experience of someone that that's taken the course and benefited from it. Now, there's something as well that I wanted to, because you touched on it earlier, and I thought this is something that I've always particularly struggled with. Of course, going back to your traveling and seminars and being invited, that obviously involved speaking publicly in front of quite a lot of people. That's quite a difficult thing to do. Was that something that was new to you when you first started? You know, how did you approach that? Because I have so many perhaps comments, well, not so many, but a few comments on YouTube and emails saying, look, I want to get better at speaking in front of people and public speaking, because it's almost a whole new kettle of fish, isn't it? It's a whole new kind of ball game.
Well, I suffer from tremendous stage fright.
Yeah,
Let me start off
me
with
too.
that.
Yeah.
I suffer from tremendous, and being a musician and a piano player, I mentioned I was studying piano. I mean, I would be shaking.
Wow.
Terrible stage fright. But you push yourself through it. You push yourself through and you do it anyway. But so this is going back a number of years. I had this woman, very nice woman from China living in the Massachusetts area, who took my course, who loved my course. She reached out to me and she says, Paul, I want to bring you to China. This is like my first big time travel. I want to bring you to China.
When was this? Sorry, when was this?
I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Sorry.
I want to bring you to China. And I want you to train people in China, and you'll be on television, you'll be on the radio, we'll have large events. And I went really like, and I looked her up and I see she was like she's like it wasn't like
it's legit.
pie in the sky. Legit.
Yeah.
This is legit. Yeah. This is legit. So then we started talking about the money part and what they're going to pay me if I go to China, and first class travel, first class hotels, all expense paid, all meals, I was treated like, like a king.
Your eyes must have just
Yeah. And they wanted to pay me all this money, and you're going to be doing these events like from like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, like 2-day, 3-day events in this city and this city and this city, and the teachers, and then the government's going to get involved, and they did. And they brought all the teachers. It was summer vacation, and they brought all their. This is the government of China, People's Republic of China. They got all their English teachers from like a whole region of the country to come in and listen to me speak and give a lecture on English pronunciation. It was crazy. Anyway, so they invited me to China, and they offered me. I said yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. And then reality hit me. Holy crap.
I've got to do this.
Holy crap. I'm going to be standing on the stage with thousands of people. How am I going to do this? I was a basket case. I ended up finding a therapist in Chicago. I found a therapist and I said, how am I going to do this? I get scared in front of 9 people, And so I met with a therapist a couple of times. We talked it through, and it worked out. It worked out good, and I wasn't nervous. I mean, maybe the first couple of minutes, you're a little bit on edge, but I did all these events in China. It was beautiful. I was so relaxed. I'm standing there with thousands of people saying, I can't believe how relaxed I am.
Yeah.
And you know your stuff. I was very well prepared. I knew what I was going to teach, and people were so receptive and like sponges. They were loving my material. And so that's how I got over it. And then, I've done a lot of more of that, and but I get it. People who are afraid to speak in public. I mean, I was there. I get it. I totally get it. But
wow. And do you think
it's
an element
you can overcome?
Like, particularly when you're in that situation, okay, even if you're in front of thousands of people, but you're in front of 5 people, do you think it's an element of not overthinking? Okay, you're prepared, you're ready, but also not overthinking yourself out of it. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that plays a part?
I think so, because you're thinking of what they're going to think of me. What is everyone going to think of me? Are they going to like me? Are they going to, they're there. All these people in the audience were paying good money to see me. They all wanted to improve. The whole goal of these events was to improve their English. And they're looking, and if anyone can help them, it's me. So it was a win-win. And then you stop overthinking, you focus on the material, you focus on what you want them to know and walk away with. And it turned out to be very, very good. And that trip to China led to many other worldwide trips.
Amazing. What an incredible story.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
It's a miracle.
from like a small room with a
Yeah,
green screen at 3 o'clock in the
yeah.
morning. It's really amazing.
And I mean, I found this, I find it really encouraging because it just shows to me just little decisions that you make in life. You never know where it's going to lead if you stick with it, if you're persistent. And I think even for those perhaps listening and watching that are learning English at the moment, that okay, it's quite a big decision. But if you stick with it and commit to it and work hard, you never know what opportunities are going to present themselves. And I think you're a clear case of that. You know,
I had
okay,
a friend who's a friend years ago before I started this. He was from Amsterdam, physical therapist. We worked together. He was a physical therapist, and he had an accent,
mm,
small, a very nice accent. And I was telling him what I wanted to do. He says, "Paul, you're crazy. No one's going to want this. No one's going to
ah,
buy this. No one's going to
yeah,
spend money on this."
mm,
I said, "But I'm good at it. I'm good." He poo-pooed the whole
yeah,
thing, and now he like, I can't believe it. He can't believe it. You
yeah.
know what? I also, as you're speaking to me, I thought of, recently I have a client from the UK. He's an actor.
Oh,
He's
okay.
an actor, very well known television, film, and he wanted to get more parts, as an American
Wow.
actor with no accent.
Hmm.
And his name is Alex Reese, if anyone wants to look him up. And so anyway, he took my program, and it's amazing. So he speaks like you with a British accent,
Hmm.
and it's called like code switching. In 1 second, he can switch to an American accent, and he's in now films and movies
Wow.
with a completely an American accent. He just like turns a switch in his brain,
Wow.
and yeah.
And
So
I guess for you, taking the business side out of it, you know, taking the money and the business side out of it, there must be a real element of being proud of that, you know, and what you've been able to, I don't know, the doors that have opened for other people
mm,
because of your hard work. You know, there must be a real sense of achievement with that.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I have a client. Um, I'm very big in India too, because of all the call centers years ago, especially
Mm,
all the call centers. There was a company called Teleperformance. They're all over the world, call centers, and they had a whole pronunciation workshop area with my pictures and everything. That they would train their agents to
mm,
speak more clearly. But there was a driver. One of the executives had a driver who
right.
had a family and made very little money in India and wanted to be an agent, but because of the way he spoke, he could never be an agent. So one
Mm,
of the executives gave him my program, and in 3 months, he became an agent and he tripled his income. His picture's on our website as
mm.
we have many, many hundreds of testimonials on our website.
I was
He's one of
looking,
the,
yeah.
his name is Sandeep Sisodia, I believe. And he tripled his income. I mean, this
It's
has
life changing. That's life changing.
changed life-changing situations for a lot of people, just the way you speak,
Yeah.
and how you come across.
Yeah. And then again, that's why I know everyone's going to be really encouraged, but just stick with it, you know. And I think that's just stick with it and find a course like yours, which will, which will guarantee that you can change, that you can improve from your current level where you are, you know. Um, Now, as musicians, whenever somebody I have a guest on the podcast and they talk about music, I have to dive into it a little bit. So, of course, where did playing the piano start? Was that something that was started as a kid, or was it something that you picked up later on in life? I always love hearing people's kind of musical stories.
Well, you're asking very good questions. You're asking very good questions. So, um, I come from a very musical family.
Oh, okay.
My uncle was an amazing piano player. My father played the harmonica,
Mhm.
like amazing. My
Oh,
father was
wow.
amazing.
Okay.
And at World War II, he was playing the harmonica as
Really?
the bombs were coming. Yeah, but very talented musician. And so my sister's very talented, so she plays the flute. So I come from a very musical
Right.
family, but we didn't have much money.
Mm,
So when it came to, I was like in, 8, 9, 10 years old, you start doing some, I really always wanted a piano. I
yeah.
just felt I knew I could do it, but we didn't
Mm.
have a piano. So my parents bought me a saxophone.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
they bought me a saxophone with the strap. You know the saxophone? You have
Yeah, yeah. I
that.
played alto for quite a while.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have that strap around your neck that's going into your neck, and you have the reed that
Oh,
always is breaking, and it's on your lip. It's on your
yeah.
lip, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to have your mouth and your effort blowing, and I did that for years.
I've been
I
there.
did it for years, and my parents got me a teacher,
Yep.
and I was very good, but I
Mm,
hated it. I
mm.
hated it, and I eventually it and then going back to Barry Manilow hit it big around 1976,
It always comes back
1977.
to Manilow. It always comes back to Manilow.
And I saw him on television and I said, I could do that. I
Oh,
could
wow.
do
Yeah.
that. I mean, I could do it. I knew
Yeah.
I could do it. So I went to a neighbor's house and I taught myself.
Wow.
I didn't tell my parents. I did this. I sneaked this and did it on the QT for a couple of months. I went to a neighbor's house and I learned how to play the piano on my
Wow.
own with no teacher. And then one day my parents heard me like they were shocked. They couldn't believe what I've been doing. I mean, with the pedal with two hands, like amazing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the next day they said, Paul, we're buying you a piano. We're getting you lessons. And I was like 16 at the time. So I started very late, but I
Mm,
would practice like 6 hours a day. I was
mm.
practicing like crazy. And I ended up becoming a piano major in college. I mean, that's
Oh,
how quickly I moved quickly. And so that's how I got into the piano.
wow. And
It's
then
because I hated the saxophone so much.
it's so interesting because that's how I got into drums. Um, it's really honestly, I can't believe you said that because my granddad was he was a saxophonist. He actually one of the claims to
See,
fame in
that's a
my
different way we pronounce it. We would say he's a saxophonist.
yeah saxophonist. Yeah, well, I hope I'm
If,
saying it right. You got me.
no, I'm sure
I
it's the
think it's
British.
right.
It's the
um,
British way. Yeah.
yeah, and one of our kind of claims to fame as a family is my granddad actually played with Nat King Cole.
Really?
So he
Wow.
toured England with Nat King Cole. Um, so I kind of thought, oh, it's in my blood. So
He
everyone was
must
like,
have been
Gideon,
very good. He must have been very good.
he was amazing.
Yeah.
It was big shoes to fill. So I was playing the saxophone, I was having lessons, and I wasn't clicking with it. But of course, it's a very different instrument to drums. But at school, there was a drum kit. I just saw it one day and I thought, oh, I'm going to give that a go. And it's very similar to you. I just sat on it and thought, oh, this is it. I picked up the sticks and thought, this is it. I've got to play drums. Um, and also there was an element of saxophone not being cool at that time. And, so yeah, it's really interesting how you just
It's
kind of,
funny.
you click with an instrument, don't you? And you just think, oh, this is me. This one kind of, and it becomes part of your identity.
That's right. That's right. It just feels right. And yeah, that's and then that led to the pronunciation. I mean, everything's connected.
It is.
Everything's connected. And it's you make these little decisions,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. If I told you earlier that I was paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm,
If I wasn't paralyzed from the waist down, I never would have gone back to school
mm.
and studied speech pathology, and I never would have gone into this industry, and you wouldn't be interviewing me now. So and that was such a terrible thing when I couldn't move my
Of
legs,
course.
so how life it's amazing. It's just
Mm,
amazing how something so terrible could lead to something so wonderful, and helping
yeah.
people. And life is a journey. When they say
Yeah.
life's a journey, it's certainly a journey.
Yeah. And that is interesting, isn't it? I guess. And I think it's great when you can take an immense positive from such a negative in life. Because, of course, no doubt that was an extremely difficult time in life. But now you look back on it, and I'm not saying the sense, but it must be kind of a weird thing because, as you say, you think, well, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am. So, you know,
I
it
don't
all
know what
comes
I'd be
around.
doing. I don't know what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's
That's
amazing.
interesting. Yeah. Paul, thank you so much. I mean, I've written notes even for myself from that. I took so much from it. And, I think,
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure
yeah,
speaking with you today.
no, it was, and hearing your story. And I think the thing that I will take from this conversation, I know many of the viewers and listeners will, is that, you know, it's the determination and the hard work and the commitment that these things take, particularly with pronunciation. It's a journey, and but you got to have the right resources to really help you.
But the thing is, if people are learning English, but when they're speaking English, they're not being clearly understood, and the listener is not understanding 100% of what you're saying, you don't want to waste your time. So pronunciation is like the icing on the cake. It's a very important part of this, because you want to be clearly understood. And that's basically what my program focuses on. We don't teach English for beginners. We work with people who have very, basic conversational skills all the way up to very advanced speakers, but we can certainly elevate them to a whole new level with my training.
Yeah, and hopefully we can put the links in the description to this video.
That would be great.
To courses and things like that. And if you are watching, please follow Paul on Instagram, and I guess reach out with any questions and things like that. But Paul, honestly, I know you're very busy. I know you're working hard, and I know you've already achieved so much. But I do wish you continued success, with everything you're doing, and also,
and you're doing an amazing job as well online. I'm so impressed with your YouTube channel. I know you're a very hard worker, and it's hard to push these videos out as often as you do. And I give you a lot of credit. I really do. I think you're doing an amazing job as well.
That really does mean a lot. And that's why sometimes it's almost like for selfish reasons that I have guests on, because it motivates me to keep going. And we're all in this together, aren't we? We're all working together in this. Paul, thank you so much. You never know, maybe we can do it again sometime.
Sounds great. So nice to meet you, Gideon. Best wishes, and thanks for having me again today. I appreciate it. Best wishes. And to all your viewers, I wish you all the best, and I admire you, and keep working hard on mastering your English. I give you a lot of credit. I really do.
Thanks so much.